He who knows how to be silent is feared more than he who speaks. Why does something strange happen the moment you stop explaining yourself? People lean in. They hesitate. They start watching you more carefully. Not because you became louder, not because you became aggressive, but because you became unreadable. Think about this. Have you ever noticed how people explain themselves when they're nervous, when they feel guilty, when they're afraid of being misunderstood? Over-explaining is not communication. It's submission. And the moment you stop doing it, the power dynamic flips. Here's the uncomfortable truth most people never learn. People don't fear confidence. They fear someone they can't control. And explanations are one of the easiest control mechanisms in social life. Because every time you explain yourself, you're saying something without realizing it. You're saying, "You have the authority to judge my decision." Let that sink in. When you justify your choices, your boundaries, your tone, your absence, you place yourself on trial. And now the other person isn't listening to understand. They're listening to evaluate. They start thinking, is this reason good enough? Can I push back? Can I negotiate? Can I make them doubt themselves? This is why Machiavelli understood something most people miss. Power is not loud. Power is economical. It speaks only when necessary. Look at real life. The manager who constantly explains every decision loses authority. The partner who overjustifies boundaries gets tested. The person who explains why they said no gets asked again. But the one who says, "I've decided. This doesn't work for me. I'm not available," and then stops talking. That person creates tension, and tension creates respect or fear. Because now the other person had a problem. They don't have access to your inner process anymore. They don't know if you're offended. They don't know if you're unimpressed. They don't know if you're done with them. And humans hate uncertainty. Here's the psychological mechanism behind it. When you explain yourself, you lower ambiguity. When you stop explaining, ambiguity rises. And ambiguity forces people to fill the gaps with their own imagination. They start wondering, did I cross a line? Did I lose leverage? Do they see something I don't? Silence becomes a mirror, and insecure people hate mirrors. Now let's get practical. When should you stop explaining yourself? First, when you've already answered once. Repeating explanations doesn't create clarity. It signals weakness. If someone didn't accept your answer the first time, they're not confused. They're testing. Second, when the question is actually an attack. Questions like, why are you so sensitive? Why are you acting this way? Why can't you just be normal? These aren't questions, they're frames, and the moment you explain, you accept the frame. Instead, you respond with calm resistance. What makes you say that? I don't agree with that assumption. I'm comfortable with my decision. Short, clean, closed. Third, when explaining costs you self-respect. If you feel your body tighten, your voice speed up, your mind racing, that's your nervous system telling you something important. You're trying to earn permission, and permission is never respected. Let's talk about fear. People don't fear you because you're cruel. They fear you because you're stable. Someone who doesn't explain themselves isn't reactive. They don't scramble. They don't overperform emotionally. And that stability makes manipulation expensive. Guilt stops working. Urgency stops working. Shame stops working. Because there's no emotional hook. Imagine someone tries to pressure you. They say, "You're being difficult. You're disappointing me. You've changed. The old version of you explains. The new version says, I'm okay with that, and stops. Now the pressure has nowhere to land. Here's the paradox. You don't need to be feared by everyone. You only need to be unpushable. Because once people realize they can't move you emotionally, they start adjusting their behavior around you. They speak more carefully. They test less. They respect more. Not because you demanded it, because you withheld access. This is what Machiavelli meant by indirect power. You don't dominate by force. You dominate by removing leverage. And explanations are leverage. Now let's address the biggest fear people have. But what if they misunderstand me? Here's the hard answer. People who want to understand you will ask respectfully. People who want to control you will pretend not to understand. So stop trying to be clear to those who benefit from confusion. Your silence will do more teaching than your words ever could. And one more thing. This doesn't mean being cold. It means being grounded. It means you speak when your words add value, not when your anxiety demands it. Because the strongest people in any room aren't the ones talking the most. They're the ones who can stop talking and stay comfortable. If this resonates, subscribe. This channel is about power that doesn't beg, explain, or chase. Because once you stop explaining yourself, you don't just gain respect. You become unpredictable, and unpredictability is feared.